Alrighty, let's see if they fixed it. I wanna die. Well, didn't expect to be back to this so soon. Sonic Origins came out a year ago already? What the fuck? And if you remember my thoughts on the game back then, I didn't have the kindest of words for it. It's far from a bad title though. For any casual gamer that just wants to play these classic games in a convenient way, it does a serviceable job bringing the classic titles to consoles and such. But for a longtime Sonic fan like myself, it was a lot of the small details that added up over time. If you want to know my full thoughts on Sonic Origins, you could watch my review from last year on the card up top or in the description. What's that? You're not gonna do that because you're lazy? Well, screw you. But in short, I was left not recommending Origins to those who already have many ways to play these games. At least not until they fix the issues like Sonic's jump in Sonic 1 and Sonic 2, Tails not despawning in Sonic 2, Tails not jumping in the Sonic 3 special stages, Jesus Christ, a large amount of bugs in Sonic 3, the absence of the nearest neighbor filter to the game so it no longer looks blurry because, you know, why would you want the game to look the best it can be for $40?
Nice job, team.
And of course, the prototype music in Sonic 3, sounding like... And again, I want to reiterate, I did advocate for the prototype music to be used in Sonic Origins, but whatever versions they used is definitely the wrong versions. But it wasn't all bad. I loved the animations added to the game as well as missions in mission mode. In fact, I was left wishing we had even more of those. But now, we have Sonic Origins Plus. What new features does it bring to the game? And does it fix any of the problems the original Origins had? Let's go over all of that right now. Alrighty, before we dive into the quality of life changes made in this title, let's go over the new features first. And no better way to start than by talking about the new addition made to the cast of characters, Amy. She's now playable in all 4 games, which is something a lot of people have been advocating for so long, and I'm actually surprised it took them this long. Let's go over her movements. Some people assumed her movements would be closer to what she had in Sonic Advance, and to those people I say, are you crazy? Have you played Sonic Advance? But there are some people that also wanted her movements to be like Sonic Advance 2 and 3, which is a lot better. And it would make sense since that was the last time she was playable in a 2D game. If that is what you were looking for though, I am sorry to say that her movements are much simpler than that. Her base speed is the exact same speed as all the other characters, which is a good thing. Her jump is the exact same height as Sonic and Tails, which is a good thing. And she has the ability to do the spin dash like everyone else, which is a good thing. Now for the differences. And this is where her iconic hammer gets integrated. For Amy, you want to essentially perform what would be a drop dash for Sonic. If you hold down the jump button after performing a jump, she'll begin to swing her hammer around her body. Thankfully, this is not just for show or a simple sprite swap. This hammer attack actually increases her range compared to the other characters, and it works well against certain enemies and bosses. But I do want to stress it isn't perfect. Orbitauts and Sonic 1s can be taken care of pretty easily with her hammer. But there are times I do find myself catching it at the worst angle and I still take a hit no matter what. The annoying soul enemies in Hilltop Zone in my experience are no longer a threat. And shell crackers, which were the bane of my existence, can now be easily destroyed. Slicers, on the other hand, can still burn in hell. But where I think Amy's movements really shine is with bosses. Take Sonic 1 for example. Almost every boss in this game can be cheesed in some way. Egg Wrecker was already a joke, but now it's barely even requiring any skill whatsoever. The Egg Scorcher, Stinger, and Spiker can all be taken care of in a matter of seconds without having to wait for the boss to attack to open itself up. The Labyrinth boss still sucks, I'm sorry. I feel like this is what really gives Amy her importance here. If you ever find yourself having problems with the classic Sonic bosses, then she may make the experience less difficult. I know a lot of people, and especially first-time players, have trouble beating Sonic 2 due to the precise jumps needed at the very end. Before with Sonic, or any other character for that matter, you could only attack Mecha Sonic on the front of his face. Any slight deviation from that, and you'll die. But now with Amy, you can attack him from any angle, and this extended range really helps against the Death Egg robot as well. It's a small change, but enough to change your boss encounters quite a lot. In fact, I'll probably go as far as to say that I will classify her as the easy mode of the game now, which is great for new players, but for old players, taking away challenge can be seen as a bit of a disappointment. Amy also has a super form, which isn't too interesting, it's just a faster and flashier Amy. But her hyper form is quite interesting. In this form, she's actually able to throw her hammer to attack enemies by using a secondary button on the controller, which is neat and unique to her. You see, Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles in the classic games were designed to be played using only one button. That's something Yuji Naka was infamously known for doing in the series for many years, fitting multiple actions into one button. But that's not all. He was also infamously known for doing insider trading and going to prison. Man, I really didn't need to bring that up. But Amy is the first character to break that one-button mentality in the classic games. Which does beg the question, if they're okay with breaking the one-button rule with her hyperform, why not just let her have more moves with her base moveset by utilizing multiple buttons like having a hammer jump of some kind? Probably would have made her inclusion a bit more exciting if that was the case. Regardless, not just her movesets are different compared to the other characters, but also her height. Amy is a lot shorter than the rest of the cast, and while that makes sense and may seem like an inconsequential change, I did encounter a number of problems because of this. Level layouts that were designed with a specific character size in mind are now not working properly. I experienced a number of problems in Starlight Zone where, unlike Sonic, Amy doesn't go through these sections properly by rolling, which does suck because rolling through the zone is what made it so iconic. There was also this section in Carnival Night Act 2 where you get thrown into this area with the switch to turn the power back on. Before with Sonic, getting here didn't require a second thought. But now with Amy, if you so much as have a pixel of her touch these spikes, you will either take a hit, which is the best case scenario, or you will die.
Procrastination Nation. What? I do not remember that spike hitting me in the classic games. But now I'm scared to jump toward there. Am I just gonna die? How do I get there without dying? Oh my god! Oh my god!
While this isn't a big deal, I find it hard to believe that any playtesters playing as her didn't once encounter any of these issues. These should have been addressed. In the end though, many of these issues are minuscule overall, and I'm happy with Amy's addition to the game. While many would have liked her movesets to have a bit more flair to it, like in Advanced 2 or 3, I think what we got here matches closer to what she would have had if she was originally part of the cast back in the 90s. But there is also another addition made to Plus regarding the cast, and that is Knuckles being playable in Sonic CD. And I gotta be honest, I completely forgot this wasn't even a thing, because it was so stupid that he wasn't playable to begin with. And there really isn't much to say. Yeah, Knuckles is playable in Sonic CD. That's great. His new sprites in the special stages are awesome, and that also goes for Amy as well. And the vertical level design works well with his gameplay. It is worth mentioning though that they apparently added new level sections for Knuckles in Sonic CD, and I gotta be honest, I have no idea where these are. I only found one in Metallic Madness Act 1 because the beginning literally spawns you in the new section. That is super cool of Sega to add a scavenger hunt to find the new feature.
Nice job, team.
But yeah, not much else to say. I'm happy Knuckles is playable in CD now, but that really should have just been the case when it was released a year ago. Now that covers Amy and Knuckles. But what other additions does Plus bring to the table to make this game, you know, Plus? Well, how does adding 12 games to the collection sound? Sounds like a great idea that justifies the $40 price tag, right? So what did they add? Sonic 3D Blast? Sonic Spinball on the Genesis? Maybe even Knuckles Chaotix, or hell, Sonic Pocket Adventure. Let's see what it is. Jesus Christ, what the fuck was that? Yup, in the most predictable move ever, it's the 8-bit Game Gear games again. And while I don't hate these games at all, man, what a letdown. Not because of the games themselves, but really? That's all this collection has to offer? First off, in a shocking twist, these aren't even the best ways to experience these 8-bit adventures, which I guess now looking in hindsight makes it perfect for Sonic Origins, but that's beside the point. The Master System version of Sonic 1, 2, Chaos, Blast, Spinball, and Mean Bean are way better since they have a bigger screen resolution, giving you more screen real estate. The Game Gear versions have a smaller screen resolution, which, as a result, suffers from considerable screen crunch. And while I still find enjoyment in them, I mean, come on, look at these comparisons. The Master System version is the go-to. And you know what else that version is? The version that is never ported! You wanna know how many times the Master System version of these games were ported? Once. Back in 2008 on the Wii Virtual Console. And that wasn't even all the games, that was just Sonic 1, Sonic 2, and Sonic Chaos. Wanna know how many times the Game Gear versions have been ported? 6. This is the 6th time these versions have been ported.
Nice job.
These versions have been ported to death. We did not need to play them again. Or better yet, fine, include them. but at the very least, give us the option for the Master System version 2. Give us something new to justify giving you $40 or $10 on top of the $30 that you want us to pay for this DLC. This is just not doing it. Outside of that little rant though, how do the Game Gear versions play? Well, they play and sound perfectly fine, is what I would say if I was lying to your face. First off, they all sound slightly off. The original games had a mono audio output, but since they are coming out of a stereo output in Origins, they all have what could be described as a slight echo effect. Now, I won't lie, this isn't a huge deal, and it wasn't something I immediately noticed until someone else told me. My bigger issue here though is the emulation of these games. They are running exactly how they would on a Game Gear, and you know what that means.
Slow down.
Oh, so now you care about preserving how these games originally played to the point where you even keep the slowdown, but you couldn't do the same for the 16-bit version of the games running in classic mode. Sure, that makes a lot of sense. It doesn't. Also, are we just gonna ignore how this looks right now? Why is the game slightly smaller than the 4:3 screen ratio? Can you fill it up a little bit more? Why is there black borders between the game and the letterbox overlays on the side? Was it that hard to increase the size of the letterbox to cover all this dead space? I'm not asking for a lot here, am I? Here, I'll do it for you. Look, that looks a lot better, doesn't it? Outside of all that, what do we have here? We have Sonic 1, Sonic 2, which is damn near impossible on the Game Gear version, Sonic Chaos, Mean Bean, Sonic Drift 1, Sonic Drift 2, Sonic Spinball, Sonic Triple Trouble, Tails Sky Patrol, Tails Adventure, Sonic Labyrinth, and Sonic Blast. We also have local multiplayer for some of these games like Mean Bean and Sonic Drift 1 and 2, which is pretty neat that they put this in. While I do have a soft spot for a few of these 8-bit Sonic games like Sonic 1, 2, Chaos, and Mean Bean, and especially Triple Trouble, I am just not a fan of a good chunk of these games. First off, Sonic Drift 1 and 2. I really don't like these very much. I know the second game tried to switch it up a little bit by adding more power-ups on the track to be more like Mario Kart and all, but it is still not even a comparison. These games still play like any generic 8-bit racer. Spinball. Dear God. I might actually be one of the few defenders of the 16-bit version. It's not perfect, but I do find some enjoyment in it, and the soundtrack is super memorable, especially the options music. But the 8-bit version? Gross. First off, this game suffers from horrible slowdown, and it makes the whole adventure unbearable. You just can't control Sonic as well as you can in the Genesis version. I didn't even try to get past the first zone in this one. I could not be bothered. Then we have Tails Sky Patrol. This is actually my first time playing this, and I'm so confused. Okay, so you play as Tails non-stop. You can't touch the floor or you die. You have a ring that you could throw, and there's a witch, and this feels like the most not Sonic game with a Sonic character. Actually, that's exactly what it is. This game starts you off in what is called a training area, and I shit you not, I got over 5 game overs in this training area because of this stupid door. What kind of training area just throws you in without explaining how anything works? I just keep dying and dying and dying. What am I doing wrong? And why is Tails flipping me the bird? It is not worth my time or yours.
Give me $40.
You'll get your
$40
when you fix this damn door!
Tails Adventure is okay. It's not my type of game, but at least it's playable compared to the other one. Sonic Labyrinth. Sonic Labyrinth. No. And then we have Sonic Blast. And that was Sonic Blast. So to end my whole spiel about the Game Gear games, while I do like a good number of them, about half of them are just not adding much value to this collection. I'm happy they are here, but this collection needed way more. Even Sonic Origins itself knows that. It has the island from Sonic 3D Blast here, but no 3D Blast is playable. Why not have the games that were never ported before to really drive up the value like Knuckles Chaotix or Sonic Pocket Adventure? Maybe even an island for the Game Boy Advance games, I don't know. Yeah, it would take work to do, but yeah, we expect a collection that is worth our time and money. Something that makes us want to drive out and get it. There are so many other Sonic collections out there. This needs something to differentiate itself from the rest. These Game Gear games aren't doing it for me. And the only way it feels like Sega's given this collection any value is by adding Amy, which is nice. I won't harp on it too much. It is nice. But they also are delisting the original ROMs of these games to really drive up the value of this one, and that just seems so backwards. Now, that covers a lot of the new, But what about the quality of life changes made to these games? Did Sega take the time to address any of the problems I said they should address at the end of my review last year? Actually, yes. Before Plus came out, they actually fixed Tails not despawning in Sonic 2. Which is great that they addressed it so quickly, because I don't know about you, but I couldn't even hear myself think while I was playing Sonic 2 last time. But that was the last time Sonic Origins would see an update before Plus came out. So what does Plus itself fix in these games? Well, they fixed Sonic's jump controls after rolling into a ball in Sonic 1 and 2. You can now freely move Sonic after performing a drop dash in 1 and 2 just like you can in CD and 3, which is great. I'm really happy they finally addressed this. They also fixed Tails not jumping in the special stages in Sonic 3, which is really nice, but I can't believe it took them a whole year to fix that glaring issue. Speaking of Sonic 3, I also heard that there was a good amount of changes made in terms of bugs and hit detection issues, which is great. Ignore that. But that's good that Sonic 3 had some issues ironed out because Jesus Christ, there were some issues.
Bet.
100 pounds.
All right.
100 pounds.
Oh,
Wait,
yeah.
what?
Guys.
Wait, you can move left and right.
Oh God, there we go.
What else did they fix? Nothing. Wait, what? Nothing? Nothing?
Nice job.
How could they not address the game's blurry filter? That was one of the primary complaints that many people had with these games when it first came out a year ago. And that was also one of the first things modders addressed on day one when the game came out. It was such an easy fix. This game should have different filters. It is so easy. I am baffled. I hate how blurry these are. I really want the nearest neighbor filter. But none of that is more insulting than the music in Sonic 3. Absolutely, positively, no changes have been made to the music or the sound effects in the game. They still sound extremely compressed and are still wildly inferior to the original prototype music. This is completely inexcusable. Sega, what? Did you just decide to ignore us? Wasn't this one of the biggest complaints everyone had? Really? So you fixed the rolling issue in Sonic 1 and 2, fixed Tails not despawning in Sonic 2, fixed Tails not jumping in the special stages in Sonic 3, which again is all great. But this couldn't have been addressed? Look, I'm not a game developer, I understand that. But something like this tells me that this could have been simply fixed with a file swap. I'm just going to assume that for some reason, they don't have the original prototype soundtrack in their archive and have no interest in getting someone like T. Lopes to actually make it sound good. This is just extremely, extremely disappointing, and it feels really lazy. And that covers Sonic Origins Plus. I know a lot of this review has been complaining, but like I mentioned in my review a year ago, and in this review, a lot of these problems I'm mentioning aren't going to be noticed by your average Joe that just wants to play a classic Sonic game on his Nintendo Switch console or something. These are problems that as a longtime fan would notice because I play these games so often. I will give credit to this DLC where credit is due. I'm happy they addressed some of the problems, and I'm happy Amy is in the game. Heck, I'm even happy they decided to include more games. While I'm not fond of the versions they went with or the games they added, they do add to the value of this collection, even if it is minor. I think the most frustrating part about Sonic Origins Plus overall, though, is it being so close to being a spectacular collection and port of these games. This should have been the easiest home run for Sega, but they stopped just short of the finish line. The practice of delisting other games to give your title significance was an unnecessary tone-deaf corporate move that did nothing but piss us off. Made worse that the original ROMs that they delisted are not a part of this collection, and they could have very easily been in this collection as the classic mode of the games. The lack of quality, like the absence of a nearest neighbor filter, the sound design for both Sonic 3 and the Game Gear games, as well as design choices like having the spin dash in Sonic 1's classic mode and not having a good amount of significant things to buy with the coins in the game that you can't just find on YouTube. It just comes off as lazy. While I'm happy Amy is in the cast of characters and Knuckles is playable in CD, could I recommend Sonic Origins to you? I'd say yes. but with a price drop. If you already have Sonic Origins, I'd say $10 isn't too big of a deal for the DLC. But just know, if you paid for Origins a year ago at full price with the digital deluxe stuff, and you plan on getting this DLC, you have dropped a total of $55, which is way, way, way too much for what you are getting. Again, you are not getting the definitive way to play these games like they want you to believe. You are just getting a way to play these games. I still recommend the standalone version of Sonic CD, which is now delisted. I still absolutely recommend Sonic 3 Air as the definitive way to play Sonic 3, which you can't do anymore because Sonic 3 is now delisted. So I leave this review with a final call to Sega. Do your fans a favor. Bring back the original ROMs of these games. You could do so by bringing back the old ROMs you delisted or putting them directly in Sonic Origins. At the very least, all you've done by removing them is encouraging fans to get these games in illegitimate ways because the best way to experience these games are not in Sonic Origins Plus. I was one of the main advocates for releasing these versions of these games. Sonic Origins Plus is a game that was released directly because of people like me calling for a collection like this. But that was under the impression that you would do it right. But you fell short of what Sonic fans deserve and what the Sonic brand deserves. Is there still a chance to fix this? Of course there are. Are you going to put the money into it to fix the outstanding issues? I doubt it, but I guarantee you it's not going to take a lot of money. It is not a lot of fixes that need to happen. But I would love to be proven wrong. And if by some miracle you do decide to fix the sound quality of Sonic 3, add filters to the game, add even more titles beside the Game Gear games, and even add the original ROMs as an option in the game, I will be yelling from the mountains for everyone to support this title. But it's up to you to make that a reality, Sega. But it's not impossible. You already do this with Sonic Frontiers, which is the most baffling part about all of this. Sonic Frontiers is getting free DLC and updates that not only add content that fans want, but it also addresses problems that people had with the game originally. You can do the same with Sonic Origins, and I promise you, your sales would reflect that. All you gotta do is give Sonic Origins the proper fixes it needs. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Again, if you guys like this video, please make sure to leave a like. And if you guys want to stick around and have more videos like this one, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you're a Sonic fan, you're at the right place. With all that said, I'll see you guys in the next one. See you later, procrastinators.